Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Professional Learning Series Fall 2021. We are so excited to have you here. Today is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021, and just in a few days, it's going to be October. And that's big for our field because it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so we have for you today a presentation from two different companies that are here to give us some resources for cybersecurity awareness. So those two companies are CyberStart America and Tanium. And I will talk more about them in a little bit. But for those of you who are here, we would love to do a quick welcome activity. So in the chat, please introduce yourself and respond to the following prompt. List a cybersecurity tip to share with others. So what's a tip that you could share with others to be more secure online? So have at it, folks. And all the answers are going to come from our guests, a lot of them. But we'd love to share, we'd love to get some tips for you. We also want to demonstrate ways that you can incorporate the theme of cybersecurity into your welcome activity. So that is a quick way to do that with your kids. And it also is a cool way to find out what they know so that you can fill in all the holes if they don't mention some of the important, especially the glaring things. Yes, we are getting some awesome, don't answer to the Facebook memes. Don't click that. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, so if you are just joining us, my name is Lily Mora. I'm coming from Computer Science Teachers Association. I am one of the new professional learning managers, and I'm really excited about today. If you haven't already, please introduce yourself and share a tip, share a cybersecurity tip. But we are going to get going. So we have two groups with us today. We have CyberStart America and we have Tanium. The first group that's going to present is CyberStart America, but because the representatives from this organization are in England, it's about midnight there right now, and it would have been a hard task for them to stay up for this. So what they did for us today is we have a pre-recorded video that we are going to preview for you all, and it will have both cybersecurity tips and previewing of the products that they are about to launch in October. And then we also have Tanium. We have Brian Bradford, CJ Leffel, and Russ From. Did I pronounce that right, Russ?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Perfect. Okay, they're here live. We get them live. So they're going to have a conversation with us about some cybersecurity tips and some resources for us educators to try out with our students. So so let me introduce CyberStart America. They aim to inspire every high school student in the US to give cybersecurity a try by providing free access to an immersive gamified learning platform. CSA will motivate high school students to explore and consider the exciting opportunities cybersecurity has to offer. So they have what's cool about their stuff, and they're going to talk about it. There's no lectures. There's just a lot of challenges that are fun, and you don't need any experience to explore the activities that they have. Everything you need to do is everything that you learn is going to be in the game. And so here's the website to CyberStart America. I believe that they're launching it in October 27th, but they'll talk about that in their video. So we have James Line, who is the Chief Technology Officer at SANS Institute and is the CyberStart founder. And we have Becky Frost, who is their Community Manager. Okay, so I'm going to play this, and then JB, can you give me a thumbs up if you could hear the sound when I hit start?
Hello there, a pleasure to be here today addressing our friends through the Computer Science Teachers Association, talking to you about the fascinating world of cybersecurity and helping youngsters discover this really, really amazing career path. My name is James Line. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at SANS, one of the organizations in the world that teaches experts at intelligence agencies, military, banks, and others how to unpick the maniacal acts of cyber criminals. Spent my career playing with malicious code and exploits, so I get to have a lot of fun day to day doing that. I'm here with Becky. Becky has a fascinating role. She runs the community where thousands and thousands of young adults are discovering that they're really amazing at cybersecurity and they might love to do it as a job. Spends a lot of time talking to teachers about cybersecurity and, of course, young adults discovering their passion. So great to be here to talk to you today. We just have a few slides and a little bit of a demonstration.
Yeah, of course.
Love a demonstration. What could possibly go wrong? So with that, let's start with our first topic of the day here. Why is cybersecurity so important? A little bit from me on the top here, and then you know, Becky can kind of take over. I mean, for me, cybersecurity is a part of everything we do every day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, whether you're plugging in devices in your home, you know, Internet of Things devices that control your fridge, that control your power, your aircon, your CCTV, whether you're trading online, accessing your bank, social media, all of it is a place where cyber criminals are trying to find ways to steal your money and your data. So this is probably one of the most important professions to the future security of, well, everything frankly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of terrifying that most developed nations on Earth have a shortage of skilled cybersecurity practitioners. So why is cybersecurity so important?
Well, it's pretty much everywhere, like you just said. It's from like our phones to our online banking. Like you've got things like your Ring doorbells now. It's all online. And like you said, everything now is online, which means that anything can be vulnerable. And especially kids nowadays, they're getting younger and younger and they're accessing things like social media. We forget that's a huge thing that can be like hacked. Your then data could then be stolen. And data essentially is the most valuable thing you'll ever like have. Like it can be so important, whether that's like money, photos, like any data that's personal to you is so incredibly valuable that sometimes it can't be replaced. So that's why cybersecurity is so important, and it's incredibly important now to be teaching the younger generation about it, because they're going to be growing up in this age where just everything's online and you're becoming even more vulnerable the more you're online, essentially. So yeah, it's everywhere, and it's a part of everyday life, from just picking up a call on your mobile phone to answering a text, an email, or just having someone follow you on Instagram now. You know, it can be everywhere.
The whole spectrum, isn't it? And I think that's what's fascinating about this, whether you're just online worrying about this from a security awareness perspective, it's becoming kind of a matter of health and safety to know a little bit about how to secure yourself, what data you shouldn't give away.
Yeah.
But also our cities are becoming smart. Our power systems, our utilities, you know, our future military domains. And we need creative problem solvers from the next generation to join this industry and help secure this stuff against, you know, the bad guys. So it's pretty important in pretty much every domain of life. And as we've said, the other angle is there is a skills shortage here, which means highly paid jobs with vacancies and a pretty fascinating area to work, I must admit myself, having, you know, during my career got the opportunity to hack a tank and a plane. The plane was on the ground.
Okay.
I kind of wish it was in the air, although once we found some of the flaws, I was really glad it wasn't in the air. So it's a fascinating field as well, which I know matters to teachers wanting to get kids to go on to things that are going to be entertaining as they're kind of working through their careers. So what are the best practices your students should follow? I mean, no pressure. Let's hit some best practices in a quick fire session here for our teachers. What do they need to know?
I think the first one ultimately is some kind of knowing how to create strong passwords.
Yep.
That's an easy one, because it's so easy to see, like, you need a number and a special kind of character in a password. It's like, okay, I'll add an exclamation mark and a number at the end of it and a capital letter at the beginning.
Password 2021 exclamation
mark.
Yeah,
exactly.
No one else
so
uses
easy.
that password.
No. And when I found out, like, my brother's password once, and I was just like, what? And it's just so easy to think that it's not that important. And you think, like, no one will ever guess that because it's the name of my pet. But when you're going around putting photos of your pet on Instagram and you know what year it is, then so understanding how to create a super strong password to protect your online identity and like that vulnerable data that I was talking about is so incredibly important, especially just to get students into that good practice for when they get older and they're going to be creating like accounts, like bank accounts and things like that.
And there's a lot of bad advice circulating. You'll see documents that say, oh, you must change your password, every month, and it must be 8 characters and not a word and completely random, but you must never store it anywhere. You must just memorize all these different passwords, which is nonsense. No one can do that. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So things like using password managers to remember passwords for you, using passphrases, words that are easy for you to remember, but hard for attackers to guess, are really powerful tidbits. Yeah. And we have some advice coming shortly on where you can find some resources here. So you don't have to scribble all of this down. We will kind of mention some of that stuff. So what about phishing attacks? I get some great ones. I'm constantly emailed by Nigerian bankers trying to give me money.
Telephone.
Oh, you get called?
Constantly, yeah.
Have you been called by Windows?
No, I haven't.
I had a guy call me who said he was from Windows. Do you mean Microsoft? He's like, no, Windows.
Your Windows.
I had him on the phone for 40 minutes to get through the whole thing. And he's like, I can't understand why it's not working. He's trying to get me to install remote access software.
Oh, no, yeah.
And he's like, what kind of computer do you have? I'm like, oh, I have a typewriter. And you could just hear the muffled laughter. But people fall for this
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, all the time. And it's actually quite alarming how many people actually do fall for it. And that's just a matter of educating people, isn't it? So that's why it's so important to educate students nowadays to be alert and on the lookout for these kind of things. Because, like we're talking about phishing on phones and emails, for example. Another phishing like on social media is becoming so much more popular these days. Just being on the lookout for profiles that start following you that have follow 1,000 other profiles but only have 1 follower in return. Instant red flag.
Yeah. And they've been widespread, even nation states using these tactics to change public sentiment. But there are some simple things you can do, right? So there's all kinds of technical advice, but one of the ones I really like, there's a scam that goes around where they email you and say, please pay this invoice to this address. If a person you didn't know came up to you in the office and was like, hey, can you pay this invoice, please? You'd be like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
But when it happens online, for some reason, our brains are like, oh, no, that's okay. Applying some of the sense we have in the physical world to the digital actually really helps. So if you get one of these emails from your bank asking you to do X, Y, Z, unless you are categorically sure, don't interact with the email, call them
directly,
out of band and validate that it really was them. It's just like if someone came up to you in an office, you'd ask a trusted coworker, you'd be like, hey, who is that guy? And they'd be like, oh, that's the CEO. You should actually pay the invoice. Or they'd be like, I have no idea. He's a random person that walked in here.
Yeah.
So you can use this mental model if you stop and pause and think about it.
Yeah, 100%. And one trick that I like to do with phone calls as well is if I have a random phone call, turn up on my phone, I'll always leave it and then Google the number after.
Oh, that's
because 9 out of 10 times it does tell you who it's coming from. But because phishing phone calls are all over the place at the moment, they're so common. 9 out of 10 times when a number calls me that I don't have in my phone already, it's a phishing phone call. Yeah. And just a quick Google sometimes gives you the easy answer as to what it is. Yeah.
Now, some of them get really bizarre. I'll make this point. I know we'll move on because we can talk about this stuff all day, but I had the most superb campaign, which was an email from an astronaut who was stuck in space and he was crowdsourcing his re-entry. Nice. And you're like, this is nuts. Who falls for this stuff? But it's actually a brilliant tactic because it finds people who are more predisposed towards maybe not thinking these things through, maybe a dash more gullible. It finds people who maybe, caught at the wrong moment. Maybe they've had a few too many beverages before they make their decision. And that's really valuable and pro tip, if you are giving a presentation, don't press the stop recording button in the middle of the talk. So anyway, as I was saying, it's really valuable in enabling the cyber criminals to find people who might be a little more predisposed to clicking something. And that's helpful because they don't want to deal with a bunch of people who are more cynical. So it's kind of a targeting mechanism to send ridiculous campaigns. So it is important we teach these cybersecurity awareness basics and stay on top of the latest tactics that cyber criminals are using here, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
So CyberStart, learning about cybersecurity and cybersecurity awareness. I want to tell you a very brief story here, and then I'm going to hand over to Becky to share some experiences of watching students do this stuff. A number of years ago, we were asked by this organization, a government organization, who were putting together a camp for 600 students over the summer holidays. That's right, they were going to drag students off the summer holidays, not of their own volition, put them in a room and lecture to them at cybersecurity. So they did, and they lectured at them. And at the end of the week, it turns out that people were less interested in a career in cybersecurity than at the beginning. I'm so surprised.
Yeah, well.
So we were asked how we might improve this, because this is an area, as we said, with a skills gap. We need more kids to discover this passion for cybersecurity, this fascinating area. So we built a game that let kids find out what it's like to be a cybersecurity pro without all the connotations. It moved past the issues that young women were like, oh, I'm not going to the computer club, right? That's nerdy stuff. It moved past the kind of idea of, oh, you have to be a developer, or love coding to be good at that. Moved past the idea that cybersecurity is one thing into enabling people to try their hand at it in a game with a fun narrative. So they took on the role of a cyber protection agent, thwarting criminal gangs. I love the bit where they try and stop the gang from stealing all the trees in Norway, personal favourite, which obviously some cyber criminal gang is going to do at some point.
Obviously.
And it just had this magical effect of removing the barriers from people feeling like they were being lectured to on something before they knew it was interesting. Let them discover this passion. And that's where CyberStart was born, a resource that you can now use in your classrooms, which we'll tell you how to do shortly, to help your students kind of connect with this area. So Becky, you've seen a lot of teachers use this stuff. Some of the key traits that are going to help people out here with CyberStart.
Yeah, so I've worked in schools for so many years, and I know the struggle that teachers have trying to teach cybersecurity. I've had teachers come up to me being like, how do I do this? Or how do I build this kind of station so kids can learn this? So they want to learn on how do I put Python on all the computers in the IT suite? And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. And with CyberStart, that's kind of like how we've combated it and made it such a fun, immersive game for kids to learn and actually enjoy learning about cybersecurity. So it's over 200 challenges in CyberStart where they get to learn all kinds of different cybersecurity subjects, things like coding, programming on Python and things. And the great thing is that they don't have to have any experience with it whatsoever. They can go in as complete novices, can't they?
Starts basic, ratchet, it gets to some hard stuff.
Oh yeah, there's stuff in there that I can't do.
There's some stuff in there that industry professionals do. So I mean, they might do a little bit, love it, and be like, that was really interesting. Cybersecurity is not for me, but I learned some tech skills. Yeah. Or they might be like, wow, I love forensics. I had no idea, and spend hundreds of hours, solving the equivalent of a kind of police forensic case. PG-13, of course.
See, I'd have loved that when I was younger. I think I would have definitely loved to have gone into forensics if I had the chance to learn about it when I was in school. But that's the great thing about CyberStart is that you have so many different subjects that you don't have, your students don't have to love all of it. They can love programming on Python, for example.
Yeah.
They can then look into going to that, or forensics, like you said. It's such a plethora of different subjects and things that the majority of the time kids will come out with some kind of new talent that they've uncovered. Some
new talent, some valuable skill. And it is fascinating watching some of the stereotypes play out. How the girls kind of drive into some of the more structured areas and they kind of build their plan, they do their homework, they learn methodically, and the boys are like, just off the rails. But it kind of works in both cases. So what I think is the most exciting part for me here is you don't have to be an expert. Your job is to get a bunch of kids to try something. It's a game, it's fun, they'll learn something, they may discover a passion that leads on to a lifelong career. And don't worry, you don't have to read the textbook one page ahead to answer the questions. Everything that you need is in it already, so they can find the answers, self-solve the challenges. You just need to facilitate a club and help them connect with a passion.
You don't need some kind of supercomputer to run it either.
No, That's
go
right.
online and access CyberStart there.
Yeah, you can play so much of it with just a web browser, but there are more advanced options available for students that are doing really well. So let's take a moment and just have a little look at some CyberStart. So this is the CyberStart platform. I have not got a very exciting agent profile. You can of course go in and customize your character and your name, but I'm going to stay as generic.
CPA.
It's really catchy, isn't it? And there's lots of different types of bases here that your students can access, specializing in different areas. I'm going to go to the intern base and the easy level. There's a narrative they can read about the gangs and what they're up to, and as they solve each of the challenges, they unlock hints, what the gangs are up to, parts of the story, working up to the Cyber Protection Agency actually stopping or thwarting that criminal gang. So let's look at a couple of the easier challenges just for fun. I love this one because it's so simple, but it drives people crazy. Let me open up the challenge here and I'll bring in the briefing.
Henry Hacks.
I love Henry Hacks. So we found a profile page of a known hacker that we need to get in contact with, but most of the information visible on the page is useless to us. However, there's a secret way to contact him. He's managed to inject on the page a hidden email address. Find his email address. I mean, people do all kinds of crazy backflips, viewing the source code, etc. What I love is you could just do this.
It's like magic, isn't it?
It's like white text. Now, not super technical, not challenging, but it hooks kind of young adults into solving problems. And there's information beyond what you might necessarily see in a browser.
Yeah.
Some will end up, using things like the browser developer tools to find this. And of course, there's a field manual where they can get lectures on how to solve this stuff, including walkthroughs of most of the early challenges, so you don't need to help them. So I've got it seems rude not to, let's just grab this. There we go.
Yeah, that's a great thing about it, especially with the field manual, is that you don't have to be a specific cybersecurity teacher to teach this, do you?
That's right. We've had career retraining teachers, career pathway teachers. We've had, French teachers, all manner of different types of teachers.
I've known English teachers as well.
Languages teach. Actually, languages really works because a lot of the syntax and how you learn the stuff kind of translates quite elegantly.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at one other challenge here, just for fun. Let's go to this one. Lazy locked login. I like this one. This one trips people up, this one here. This is the Uber Fridge 1000, technician access only. Can't click enter. If you inspect this little enter button here, this is kind of fun. There's a little developer note. This will be disabled if page and access from the technician's laptop, and there's this disabled thing. And what's great is if you just delete it, then the button becomes enabled. You can click it, but it teaches at an early stage the idea of client-side code, that this is an area of low security versus high security on the server side. It's an introduction to languages and HTML without needing to have a lot of syntax understanding. And it's amazing watching kids piece it together. They'll make their way through this, and by the end of it, ideas like SQL injection, command injection, cross-site scripting, complex logic flaws kind of iteratively build up to the point where they can solve them.
Yeah.
They just have no fear. They just click stuff until it works.
And it's so nice to see them light up when they complete a challenge as well. It's so motivating in itself. And you don't get that from a book or from just speaking to them, do you? Just seeing them light up as soon as they've unlocked that drawer in their head. That's what my teacher always used to say. It's like unlocking a drawer when you finally used to get something. It just makes it so much more. It is fun. I've been addicted. There's been many a nights when I've sat there been playing Cyberstar.
It's the book is useful. The course and structured study is useful once they know it's interesting.
Yeah.
Once you've discovered the passion, it's great. But in the first place, you need to connect with it and understand why this is a fascinating field. And that's what this enables you to do. Hundreds of hours of content, something for everyone. Actually, a lot of teachers quite like playing it too.
Oh yeah, you can play along with them. It doesn't have to be just for the students. You can actually track how your students are doing with the groups feature as well, which is really cool.
Very neat. Yep, you can create a group. There's a walkthrough on the site on how to do that. and you can actually see how many challenges your students have done recently. You can spot the ones that are struggling, the ones that are doing amazingly, go give them a bit of help, give them a bit of encouragement. So it's quite the learning platform and quite the base of content. But what's really wonderful here says something for everyone. Some will do a couple of levels. That was interesting, not for me. Others will find this is what they want to do with their lives. And if I may share one little tidbit here for you, we ran a program in the UK over the last 4 years that saw us get to over 175,000 kids having a go at CyberStart game and playing a bit of cybersecurity. We found several thousand of these kids that were, they're amazing. They're kind of now moving into industry, they're getting job placements, doing their first roles. And having talked to a few of them, there's this universal thing they say, which is, I didn't think I'd be any good at that. I didn't know it was a job or a career path. I played this and it's the thing that I now want to do with my life, which is an amazing outcome for the students. And hats off to the nearly 7,000 teachers in that program who started clubs, brought students together and helped them, have a go at this. So a really wonderful outcome. But of course, in America, we have the CyberStar America program, which provides free access to CyberStar and also has a bunch of wonderful outcomes for students as well. So tell us more about CSA.
So CyberStart America is absolutely free for all eligible students to register. So head on over to the CyberStart America website to go and have a look at our eligibility criteria. Get your students registered now because they can register now. Registration is open, ready for the program to go live on October the 27th, I believe. So yeah, it's all free. And this is like your lessons sorted. Like there's no lesson planning needed with this. And there's some amazing opportunities for your students by participating in CyberStart America. It's essentially paving the way for your students to possibly go into cybersecurity. Like you said, there's a huge gap there. There's so many in-demand jobs in the cybersecurity realm. And so with CyberStart America, they can earn things like badges, and they're going to complete you can build a portfolio of skills that they wouldn't have essentially had before participating in CyberStart America and playing CyberStart. And they can qualify for scholarships as well, which is an amazing opportunity that some of them they wouldn't be able to have without participating in CyberStart America. So it's free and it's fun, and just get your students to go and have a go. You might find that they absolutely love it and become addicted.
I still love that one of the top search terms for CyberStart America last year, we had about 30,000 kids participating in this first intake, was, is CyberStart America really free? And yes, it really actually is. So let's recap. Whether you are planning on teaching some cybersecurity content and you want to use it in your classroom to provide labs and learning content and videos, great. Get your kids signed up. Maybe you're not in the cybersecurity area, you're in broader, computer science, or you have teachers near you who are running clubs just broadly associated with tech. That's superb. You can be a facilitator, get kids to have a go. They can play a little or they can play a lot, but they may discover a passion and show themselves to be phenomenal that can lead on to these wonderful opportunities that Becky's describing, or just enrich their existing interest in computer science. They can learn a whole plethora of skills, from problem solving through kind of Linux command line, through programming, through kind of different interesting bug categories, even up to and including getting to try their hands at a real penetration test, a real forensics example to see what it's like to be in the field. And all of this is provided to you such that you don't have to be an expert in all this stuff. You can track students, you can watch some of the group feature, and you can play along with them as well, because I know a lot of teachers like to work their way through the narrative. So October the 27th, URL just here. Might be this site. There. Let's go there. Yeah. All right, let's go there. And you can find more information about the program. You can get in touch with the program team if you're curious about the eligibility criteria or have other questions. And with that, I really hope you enjoyed listening to us about cybersecurity, CyberStart America. Hugely appreciative of the work that you do computer science is an incredibly important discipline for the future of economic stability, all our technological innovations, and for keeping hackers out of systems at the end of the day. Help us find lots of kids and connect them with a passion for this new stuff and have them solve a few fun challenges on the way. So hope to see you in the program soon. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of the program. Cheerio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanium, for that video. If you have any questions that you want to direct specifically to CyberStart America, can you include that in the chat? I will direct it to them and then send you an email with the response. I see the question from Scott about the high school saying eligibility is limited to high school age students, and I saw too that it's 13 and up. And so the question is about middle school student access. So we will direct that question to them to see if that is something they're interested in. Okay, so thank you for hanging out with us. This next part of our presentation is live. And we are so excited to have Tanium with us today. They've been a supporter of CSTA since 2019. They're a leader in cybersecurity with all 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces securing and managing their endpoints with Tanium. 8 out of the top 10 U.S. financial institutions trust Tanium to manage and protect their mission-critical networks. Tanium, this platform solves the biggest security and IT management challenges organizations face by providing lightning-fast ability to see everything and do anything across computer networks with unparalleled scale. Without further ado, I want to introduce to you Brian Bradford, CJ Leffel, and Russell Fromm. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Hi, happy to be here. We've got a whole lot of incredible material to share. I'll let kind of Brian and CJ introduce themselves.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be located. Brian Bradford, I'm a Tanium engineer and security specialist, currently assigned to one of our accounts.
Hi, my name is CJ Leffel. I'm also another Tanium enterprise engineer. I do also have a cybersecurity background and came to it honestly through years of playing with them as a kid, and have really enjoyed my career so far.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. I'll say, and I'll just end it here with my name is Russell Fromm. I'm an enterprise service systems and engineering lead. It's a whole bunch of words. Basically means I lead a set of enterprise services engineers, which means people who are hands-on working with customers every single day all over the world to help them manage and secure their computer systems. So if we can go to the next slide here, we're going to jump into some of the fantastic resources that you have available here. There's some really incredible resources that I didn't have when I grew up. So I mean, I'll talk a little bit about my background and how I got into cybersecurity. I was just curious. I wanted to know how computer systems worked. I ended up going to college for computer engineering to kind of scratch that itch of, you know, how does a web page actually, you know, get delivered? How does a computer turn on? You know, how does that screen actually flick around and know what to say? Just kind of curiosity, and I spent years kind of dabbling in different parts of computer systems. I actually didn't start out in cybersecurity. I was in computer networking, so I was helping computers talk to each other. And then I was building big giant computer networks all over the country and eventually all over the world to make sure that your cell phones kept working. If you have a Verizon wireless cell phone, your data today is probably still going through networks that I built. So I had a tremendous ride through the industry, but there are so many options out there right now. We're going to focus on just a couple of them to help you get started, and we're happy to answer any question you have at all. We've spoken at a couple other events this year, so there's a lot coming in. This is a very, very busy month with cybersecurity awareness. So the first one actually relates to an earlier kind of question that came up here was, what about for students who aren't high schoolers yet? What about for elementary and middle schoolers? So what I direct you to is the first side on the left called uscyberpatriot.org. This is actually run by the Air Force, but don't worry, it doesn't mean you have to join them or anything or jump in, you know, or register. what they do is they've put together a kit, and you can use this with very young kids and start talking to them about very simple concepts about cybersecurity, kind of get them started. Are they curious about how systems work, why systems work? And they have a kit. It's basically a couple of modules, some slides. It's very high level, and it's easy for somebody to present it that isn't very knowledgeable about cybersecurity. So I know coming in, if I was a teacher, I'd be a little scared about this content. So I was like, oh, what if they ask me something I don't know? You know, I'm not a hacker. I don't know anything about it. How do I get started here? And luckily, that one, I think, for elementary schools is pretty lightweight. Moving on here to Hacker High School, those are lesson plans that you can download. No registration needed. They're all public. I was actually looking at one today for how to secure Windows 10. So it's a downloadable guide. It takes you step by step through how to secure a Windows computer. And I can tell you right now, you know, working with large companies, a lot of the advice that they have in there are stuff that we use every day to secure computers. So that's absolutely good content. And I can say if someone actually had the initiative and drive to go through that, they would learn a lot. Even if they just browsed through it and they were just curious, how does this work? Some other things I want to jump into are kind of similar to what was mentioned here at CyberStart. So there's a lot of online ranges for to learn about cybersecurity in a fun, open kind of fashion. And I'm going to jump into there. I haven't seen any new questions yet, but if they come in here, plus I'll stop here for a little bit to let my peers talk a little bit too. But I'm going to share my screen just for a second and bring up some of those resources. So just to recap there, we've got resources for elementary and middle schoolers. We've got resources for high schoolers. And I'm going to jump into some of the other resources we have too. There's a lot out there. Feel free to look at everything and kind of say, this makes sense. This doesn't make so much sense. I like this approach. I don't like that one. Feel free to experiment here. And I'm going to give you some other tips as we go through this for things to try. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you a great resource called the PICO CTF, put together by Carnegie Mellon University. And what it allows you to do, and this is of course free, allows you to go through capture the flag exercises with students and help them learn and go through these exercises. Very similar to what was mentioned with CyberStart. It's just another way of doing it. I'm a big fan of PICO CTF. I'm not going to sign up here, but this is for 13 and older, so this is for slightly older students that are out there. In addition, I kind of wanted to address kind of the elephant in the room about being scared to present and learning about presenting this type of information and answering questions like I don't know. Like they say, oh, I don't know what this is or how this works. I don't have a background. I may know a lot about computer science, but not about securing Windows systems or about some type of technology they mentioned or common thing in the security industry. What I would say a great thing to go out for to get some help is go to meetup.com and search for cybersecurity and just look for, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm going to do Denver, Colorado. And I'm going to say, I'm reaching out for maybe somebody who'd want to work with me and help students learn about this, maybe answer their questions, maybe help mentor them, maybe even come in for a session either remotely or in person, whichever is safe and makes sense. And I've got some matches here. I'm going to go over to groups. I just did cybersecurity. And right here, Cybersecurity Denver, 48 members public. General meetup for anyone learning about cybersecurity. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I've got similar groups here in Wisconsin, and you've got these in every single state. In every major city, you're going to find these people. This is a public group. I'd say join this group, reach out, message the organizer, go, hey, I'm a high school teacher, elementary school teacher, middle school teacher. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I want to show my students more about this. I've got some lesson plans. I like the CTF. I like the CyberStart. Can you go through it? Can you show it to me hands-on? Can you answer some questions? I got somebody who's curious about it and just doesn't know where to start. It doesn't know what any of this means. That's a great place, resource to reach out with. And just use meetup.com. Most people in the industry like myself who are professionals are more than happy to share knowledge and get more people interested in getting started in the industry. We have a huge shortage of talent right now. We're trying to find everyone we can. Salaries are going crazy. Companies are just so desperate to find any talent out there that can help them. I will say that it's a bit hard to start in cybersecurity, but if you start them with some of these resources like the PICO CTF, you start off with some of these resources coming in, and I can't read it here because it blocked me, like Hacker High School. If you start coming in also with some of these plans that come in, I mean, here's one that I opened up and actually walked through, hey, how do I change sign-in options on Windows 10? What is a lockout threshold? What's a lockout duration? It goes into these settings. These are the same things that I do professionally to help companies get secure. So I just wanted to kind of give that as an overview of all the options that are out there. And if you find a group like this, they'll help you get through this and figure this out. There'll be people in there who will most likely be able to spend a lot of time with you to help you answer questions. A couple other things I just want to throw in there. This is geared a little bit more towards older students. Is hackthesite.org. It's been around a really long time. I trained on this website. It started in 2003. There is a tremendous amount of missions on here for students to learn from. They also have forums where if they get frustrated, somebody's likely asked that question and has the answer. This is for older students who are okay having their own account and they know how to take basic precautions online, like not using their real name, etc. The last thing that I want to say is for students who are looking at graduating, there is a great new program hardly anybody knows about called Scholarship for Service. Scholarship for Service is similar to other programs focused on public service. What they will do is give you 75% off college, basically 3 out of 4 years. If you do a standard 4-year program, they will cover. 2-year program, they cover the whole thing. Basically, if you do a year of college in undergraduate or graduate, they will cover that year for year up to 3 years. So let's say I do 4 years, I get a bachelor's in cybersecurity, then I go and after I graduate, I work in a cybersecurity position, either with the US government or with the state government, and I get experience. They will then go ahead and pay off that time that I had to spend to get educated. Very few people know about this. Just search for Scholarship for Service. It's a fairly new program. You have to apply, go through it. There's some requirements for it, but it's a fantastic option out there for people who want to get in and kind of save a little money on college, get started in cybersecurity, and get some hands-on experience. It's an incredible program that helps us with this tremendous talent shortage that we're dealing with right now. With that, I'm going to stop sharing for a little bit and kind of give a second here, catch up, and see if there's anything I missed. There might have been some questions while I was presenting here. Looks like there was a little bit of chat here on the side. I'm just catching up a little bit. And I'll put it here for Brian and I guess CJ, talk a little bit maybe about their background, how they got into it, and kind of their experience if they use some of these tools in the past.
I have certainly used some tools similar to these in the past to great effect to help other people and myself learn. My particular background is I'm at the point where when I was getting into computers, the internet as we know it didn't quite exist then, and I was setting up a precursor to that called a BBS where people could dial into my computer. Imagine how safe and secure that is, right? And well, after a lot of work, my computer got badly hacked, and that's, of course, set me off. And then I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to fix it and whatnot. And that kind of set the tone of interest for a lot of my career in cybersecurity. Especially it has become more and more of a pressing need as more and more industry and has grown exceedingly vulnerable to hacking. It has been a great career. It is one that is complex and it can often be frustrating, but very rewarding. When you get down into it, and as Russ said earlier, it is nothing but sliding pay scales, right? So it is a great future. We need people badly. There's a real dearth of talent, and you'll find just about anybody in the industry will be more than happy to support any effort that you want to make towards getting students interested in this as a career.
So my path took a little different turn than both Russ and CJ. I got interested in security right around the time of the I Love You virus, and because it was the first real big outbreak that was kind of publicized that I can remember, and I just wanted to know how it worked and what it did. So I got really interested in security and malware. Then I joined the military and spent 20 years doing IT and cybersecurity for the Army. And I I love it because I love puzzles, and I think that anybody that loves puzzles or has a little bit of ADD like I do, that needs something to focus on and go down rabbit holes, it's very good for them. Real quick, I just wanted to share another resource. It's it's kind of managed by ISC Squared. They're the ones that do the CISSP certification, and it's called IamCybersafe.org. Their website has a lot of news and links to their various social media platforms, but they also have a Garfield program. It is a paid for program, but I've heard really good things about it. I'm getting ready to sign my son up because he's turning 7 and he's big. He wants to be a YouTuber and set up his own Minecraft server. So he's big into computers. But I think anything that we can do to get people to come into this field is great. And I just want to give a big shout out to all the computer science teachers out there that are pushing this along. And we've come a long way since basic and Mavis speaking, the typing teacher. And it's because of the hard work you guys do.
I would also like to give props up to the I Am Cybersafe and the Garfield teaching programs. I'm a CISP or CISSP through ISC Squared myself, and I have been through and worked with both of those programs, including having taken my own kids through the Garfield one. And it is, yes, it's paid, but it is a great program for those where that can be done, and is definitely well vetted and well resourced. And as I mentioned earlier in the chat, whether it's ISC Squared or others, you'll find a lot of these organizations. I mean, I had to have palm vein scans and whatnot to get my CISSP. I'm definitely recorded and on file. There was a background check done. So those are some of these organizations. Same with my EC Council Certified Ethical Hacker certification. They know their people when you're training at a public official level for this stuff, right? They like to make sure in a lot of cases that we're not training, we're training white hats, not black hats.
All right, so hopefully we have overwhelmed everyone with all all the information resources out there. There is a lot.
There definitely is. I also took notes of the additional resources that you provided on the slide deck so that when we share it out, people can have access to all those links that you guys shared. Are there any questions for our presenters that you guys want to ask? And you're open to unmuting if you're comfortable. Going once. Oh, there was a question earlier. Russ, when you had talked about, I think you're the one that talked about Meetup and asking help from like going to like cybersecurity groups to ask people like in a region, for example, help on like cybersecurity issues. One of the questions was about have these groups been vetted?
Yeah, these are community vetted groups. So in the spirit of kind of hacker culture, we're kind of anti-authoritarian, I guess you can say. Are these groups vetted? No, the security platform is done by Meetup. What I would say is if you're uncomfortable reaching out to any of those groups, most likely you may be able to do it through your PTO organization. Most likely, if you reach out there and say, we'd like to have a professional come in and speak about this, there is somebody there's a parent who is related to this industry or works in it directly that can help you vet out that and is a member of one of those orgs. Most of those, like I know in my area, if you go to Meetup, it looks like a hacker meetup, and that's what a lot of them look for. Some of them will say things like 2600 or other name designations. That means that they consider themselves a regional cybersecurity group as part of a larger one. There are directories of these groups. However, none of this stuff is vetted. It's all done through the community itself. So if somebody says, I'm a professional and this is a meetup, and I'm part of, let's say, 2600. 2600 is a very well-known hacker group that's been around a very long time. It isn't like they officially go through. So I'd say if you're curious, if you're worried about safety or privacy, do it through, work with the PTO, and you'll get somebody you can trust who can vet these orgs.
CJ, can you talk to the response that you had in the chat? You did mention some accredited organizations.
Well, and that's as I was speaking to earlier. I mean, there are some of the major bodies like SANS, GIAC, ISC Squared that does some of my certifications, EC Council that has done some of my other certifications. They tend to be full of professionals, right? A lot of their certifications, even depending on what they are, some may require background checks or, levels of registration. And most of them have cybersecurity programs, both accredited for professionals as well as the CyberStart America with SANS, the Garfield, and the I Am Cybersafe with ISC Squared. EC Council's got its own, and so you could easily reach out to any one of them. You can find them through their websites and just do a contact and say, I'm a teacher, I'm looking for some vetted resources, and I am sure that really any of them will be more than happy to find you somebody. And again, if they, whether it's one of their members or one of their own employees, they'll find somebody from their ranks that they will safely say, you could speak in front of students or whatever, or will provide you safe information and a safe program to use.
Awesome. Are there any other questions out there for our guests? Going once, going twice. Okay, so thank you so much, Russ, Brian, and CJ, for your time. You've given us a ton of resources to check out. So we have a growing list of different websites and organizations to even reach out to. We appreciate you guys making time for us. On our side of education, it's rough because it's always hard to kind of get people from the industry to come talk to us. And we're so glad that you guys took the time out to do this for us. We appreciate you guys being here and hope that you stay connected to CSTA. I am going to wrap this up. I wanted to thank everyone for being here today. And I wanted to remind folks that if you're not a part of CSTA, we would love for you to join. There's a ton of events that you can access. And I think it's next week. Next week, we have our CSTA Monthly Engage, and we are going to feature Native American Heritage Month resources. And then we're going to follow it up with a webinar specifically about more resources to look into on the 11th. On the 20th, we're going to prepare teachers for National Bullying Prevention Month. And that's on the 20th of October. And on that same day, if you are interested in doing a workshop, there's some help from the national team from taking your idea to a proposal. It's a repeat session, but they're there to support you if you want to present at one of the upcoming events like the conference in the summer or any of our summits that are approaching. So this today concludes our professional learning series for Cybersecurity Awareness Month resources. This is a part of a series of webinars that we are presenting this fall. We do hope that you come join us for the future events. We have great presenters and great topics to cover, and we wish you all a great evening. Thank you all for coming.